In this episode of JoJo, things get incredibly disturbed as Giorno decides to embrace the power of Purple Haze and gets down with the sickness. The battle with Illuso, the Master of Mirrors, comes to a bloody, badass, and awesome end as we got to see Fugo, Abbacchio, and Giorno take him down very soundly. This was a really intense episode right here, and it honestly went into a couple of different directions that I honestly didn't expect, and yet again, played to the absolute creativity of the series. One thing that I found really fascinating about this battle, and something that I didn't even notice until one of my commenters actually noted on this, this is actually kind of similar to some of the adventures that we saw from Stardust Crusaders, where a character sort of globe-trotting, going around the world, stopping in a very distinctive location, and having a battle with a guy who has really crazy abilities. That's pretty much exactly what's been going on here, but I will say that the stakes were really high in this episode, as they were desperately trying to get this key, which is going to take them to a vehicle which better fucking pay off in whatever the hell it is. They've been building it up for a couple of episodes, and I can't wait to see if it's actually going to be something really badass, or if it's just going to be a sick joke. But this episode right here was mostly just a straight battle against Illuso and his stand, the Man in the Mirror. And I figured it was going to be Fugo Panicotta who's going to end up being the main star of the episode, because that's kind of how they've been handling the storytelling in the previous episodes of the series, where they take a member of Bruno's gang, they focus on them, showing off their powers, rinse and repeat, and that's basically it. Here, Illuso's a much tougher opponent and actually ends up taking all three of them to take him down, and Abbacchio really shows off his stuff in this episode, as he's actually there for the bulk of the battle. His stand Moody Blues already had a really unique ability, but the way that they actually use it in this episode, I have to say, is just absolutely brilliant, as we get to learn that Illuso can actually just pull people directly into his mirror world, and he can actually do it piece by piece. If he just simply wants to take your hand away, he can do it, and he ends up taking away, like, the entire, like, half of Abbacchio's body, which luckily he is able to sustain by actually using his stand as the other half. Most of this episode focuses on these two characters as they constantly try to one-up one another with their abilities and trickery. It's kind of like watching the coyote chase the roadrunner, but you kind of have to decide which character is being portrayed, as it's a pretty even battle throughout most of it, but Abbacchio does end up losing his hand in the process, but he's actually able to do this in what I think might be one of the most clever things I've seen from the series, where he actually severs his hand in the real world, which is grasping onto this key which is going to take him to this mysterious vehicle, and through the power of his stand, he is actually able to make it travel back and away from Illuso, which forces him to actually have to give chase, until eventually he runs into, of all people, Giorno. He actually manages to bring him into this world, but this ultimately ends up being his undoing, as Giorno has allowed him to be infected with Purple Haze's virus, and he immediately makes contact with Illuso, who ends up getting infected as well. And just like Abbacchio, he has Skywalker syndrome and ends up losing a freaking hand. And this scene is so well executed and so damn horrifying to look at, because he's able to use his stand in a sense where he can command anything that can be in that mirror world, and when he actually leaves, he can make these specific commands such as, allow me to leave this world except for the virus which is infecting my body. And when he does that, you can actually see all of the flesh melting away from his hand, leaving just a bony skeleton arm. And if that isn't enough to rock your jollies, the way the battle actually comes to a close is just absolutely brilliant, as while Giorno is actually literally melting away from all of this stuff, he created this plan where he turned this rock into a snake in the real world where Illuso is trying to run away, and he's able to direct this rock directly right next to him. But since things in the real world can actually be moved around and you can see them in the mirror world, this lets him know exactly where Illuso is going to be, and that's when Fugo comes in and he's able to take him out with Purple Haze, which is a really great moment as he pins him against the wall, and it almost seems like Illuso is going to escape until suddenly one of those capsules just explodes right in front of him and he starts to melt, and it all ends with just a giant barrage of punches coming from Purple Haze in what might be one of the most well-animated scenes from the entire series period, and guys, just looked so fucking cool. So the episode ends with our team being severely injured, and we get to see that Giorno is also incredibly resourceful, as the materials that he created this snake from were actually coming from Purple Haze, and thus he was able to nullify all of the poison, pulling out the serum out of this snake, which allowed him to become immune to this stuff, which means him directly working with Fugo now in the future is going to be great, as he's going to be immune to all of his dangerous poison, and considering how powerful his stand Purple Haze is, That's gonna be pretty awesome to see in the future of the show. And stick around, there is a post-credit scene that doesn't really do anything, but it's just teasing the fact that we're about to see the next assassin of the group, the dude with the creepy red eyes and the weird jester hat. So what's the rundown on this episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind? Just another fucking awesome episode of the series. What more can I say? They always manage to one-up it in almost every single department, and I almost felt that this was going to be kind of a boring confrontation. The first episode before this one, that's starting off the whole Illuso story, didn't wow me as much as I was hoping for, but this one absolutely lived up to it in spades, especially just in terms of the overall visuals. All of the moments with Abakio combining the missing parts of his body with the Moody Blues was just so freaking inspired and really awesome looking. His plan of actually having his hand removed and actually return with the key was just brilliant. What I loved about this one, though, is that it actually took 3 people to take this guy down, and it wasn't just your simple run-of-the-mill shooting beams or punching dudes in the face kind of battle. There was a lot of thought put behind this, and again, that ends up being one of the best things about the JoJo franchise, are its very inventive battles. So far, this has been a pretty fantastic arc, and it's done a great job of expanding on all of the main cast, which we now have a pretty good understanding of. I can't wait to see more of Fugo in the future and how he's actually going to be able to control his anger, but it was a great moment when he finally acknowledged Giorno and all the things that he did, his resourcefulness, and the fact that really, once this guy joined the group, this is when Bruno Bucciarotti's gang really started hitting the big time. It's a great moment for these characters, and I can't wait to see what this wacky vehicle is going to be. I'm so pumped for all of that. Really, I cannot praise this episode enough, which is why I'm dropping a 5 out of 5 on this one. That's right, an excellent episode of JoJo, which you guys should definitely check out. If any of you guys did watch the episode, make sure to tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below, and what you hope to see from the rest of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind. Thank you all for watching this review. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down, baby.